because they're in that uncomfortable place of know where I want to go, but something's blocking the way. How do we know if our own business is outgrowing their systems and is scaling in a chaotic way? What is the precursor of that red flag? So the red flags you're going to see is high staff turnover, definitely unhappy client, missed deadlines, missed deliverables. But if we go to the precursors, almost the canary in the mines, if you will, one that we see a lot, and it is top of our list that we look for, is what we call shadow systems. We think about it as a three-legged stool, and the three legs are made up of technology, people, and process. A stool cannot stand on one leg or two legs. So if you only focus on technology or you only focus on the processes that run your business, it's not going to work.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to The Business Game, a podcast that moves the needle. Hey guys, before we jump into today's episode, we just wanted to take a really quick moment to thank one of our sponsors, Tala Offshore. For any businesses wanting to maximize their return on new hires, Tala offers seamless access to top-tier Filipino talent who are real employees hand-selected by the Tala team, slashing your staffing costs by up to 60% with onboarding in under a week. Visit talaoffshore.com to scale smarter, and thanks again to Tala for supporting The Business Game. Welcome to The Business Game, a podcast that moves the needle. My name's Jazmyn, and I'm joined today by my co-host Dan.
Hello.
And our fabulous guest, Val Coin. Welcome, Val.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you so much for being here. So, Val, could you give us a little rundown of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So Val, and I am one half of the core Via technology team together with my husband. And what we do at Via is we systemize businesses. So we're digital transformation consultants, which means we help businesses scale and grow via technology.
Oh, scaling and growth. That's a good one for our audience.
It's going to be fun.
So I'm going to jump in with a bit of a tough question right off the bat.
I'm ready.
Okay. What is the biggest challenge that you've had recently in business that you've had to overcome? And tell us about the problem-solving strategies.
Oh, look, as I said before, how to choose. That's really the question. What came to mind first was because we help other businesses systemize, often we find it hard to look at our own backyard and systemize our own business. And getting past that, only I can do it. It has to be my way. I am the best at what I do. And so I really found it challenging in the last 12 months to unpack all of our expertise and our knowledge into something that others could use. And I found so much value in doing so because it not only serves for onboarding new team members and for clients, but it also serves to create so many other pieces of content, courses, webinars, online live events. So that it was a very big challenge, but that would be the biggest encouragement that I give to business owners is try to unpack what is happening between your ears and put it down on paper into a system.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be able to do so much from it.
Absolutely. And it sounds like, that's your bread and butter is doing that for other businesses, but neglecting it for yourself. It's interesting that you still had that gap.
Yes.
So how did you kind of recognize that was becoming the case? What were the pain points leading up to that?
We are our own biggest bottleneck. You wake up in the morning and you realize that you have 3 or 4 team members and 2 to 5 projects where they're all on hold because they are waiting for something from you, whether it's an answer, whether it's an approval, whatever that may be. And then there is that moment of realization where I just can't do it all. I can't hold it all in my hands. And really being honest, and the key there is slowing down because we're so fast-paced, do, achieve. Clear your inbox by the end of the day. And so I took the time to slow down and really ask myself, where am I really needed? And where is my ego getting in the way and telling me, you need to do this because only you can do it?
So,
where it's not true.
Yeah, that's really hard when it's your baby too because you care so much about it and you want to be hands-on in every regard. But we hear that a lot that in order to scale, you really have to relinquish control.
Yes. And, I think we are always our own biggest challenge in business. Business forces you to face especially if you're the owner, but even if you are in a leadership position, you might not be the owner of the business, but you're still leading, first of all, yourself and then your team. It's a mirror. You're going to see all of the facets of yourself that you don't want to see. And so when you ask me what's the biggest challenge, it doesn't matter what the flavor is. I find it's often ourselves.
Love that.
Yeah.
So Val, how does VIA technology help you take those steps to systemise your business?
Great question. So first of all, if I can take a step back, I'd like to share what we define as a system. Because a lot of the time these days we use the word system and what the listener hears is technology, software, platform. And that makes perfect sense. That's the evolution of language. But in our methodology, a system, we think about it as a three-legged stool. And the three legs are made up of technology, people, and process. Okay. And if you think about it in those terms, a stool cannot stand on one leg or two legs. So if you only focus on technology or you only focus on the processes that run your business and SOPs and flow charts, but forget the people, for example, which is often the third pillar that often gets forgotten, it's not going to work. So first of all, to us, a system is made up of people, process, and technology. And how you build your business into a system is we never start from technology, and that's the biggest recommendation I have as well when someone looks to systemize and scale. Never start from technology. That's the last step. It needs to be the last step.
Okay.
So then where do we start is the next question. I see it in your eyes then. We start from process.
Okay.
And the reason for that is you need to map what makes the business tick, what your departments are, what your workflows are, and also map roles, responsibilities, and what success looks like. So where are you today? Where do you want to be in 3 to 5 years? It's a simple way to put it. And once you have that map, it's almost like you're going on a road trip and you've just given yourself an actual physical map. I know where I am, I know where my destination is, and I know all the different roads that take me there. Now, the second step is people. And so if we look at the analogy of travel, people would be, I'm a person, I can go on foot. I now have a map. And I need to align myself to the destination. And that's what we do. We make sure that teams in businesses that we work with are aligned with the overall business goals, but also because they have a goal of their own that they want to achieve. And through achieving that, they achieve the bigger business goal. If we don't take our people with us on that journey, no one's going to drive the vehicle through, right?
Okay.
So that's the second step. And the third step, once you've done those two things, you've mapped out your business and you've gathered the perspectives of your people, you're going to be all the richer for it. And you would have given them the ownership over this process of change that you're implementing in a business. At that point, you are ready to start looking at technology. You're ready to find the best match because now you know what you need and what your people need and how your business operates in detail. And you're able to provide that to a software vendor and find that match, not only in features and functionality, but also in values and in outcomes. And once you do find that match, yes, purchase, implement, optimize, those are easy.
Okay.
And in our opinion, just to wrap it up, technology is the vehicle to make that journey faster. So instead of your person with your map walking all the way, they jump in a Ferrari and drive off.
Righto, now I've got a million questions. Yeah. Okay, so via technology, do you actually go in the business and work in the business, or is it a matter of talking to the owners, or is it working with staff as well? Or
that is a really good question, Dan. The way we found it best is, first of all, work with a leadership team in that consultative and advisory capacity. But often information isn't enough, and you also need the execution. So what we find useful then is to partner up and not work and step into the business and get the project done for them, but partner up. So create an internal project team that we sit on the side and partner up with and take them through the journey so that they can leverage the expertise of our team. We can pull in whoever we need. If it's a cybersecurity expert, we can pull them into the project, get their expertise when it's needed, and then they can step out. But in so doing, we transfer that knowledge to the team. And then once the project's finished, 12, 18 months later, we can step out and the team within the business has the knowledge that they need to keep their business, their systems running.
At
Please?
what point do businesses contact you? Is it during the startup, or is it during the scale, or is it
So,
everywhere?
a little bit everywhere. One of the things we often see is, the stages of business growth, whether you are looking at Vern Harnish or whatever the stages are. You've got your startup, grow up, scale up, and then, you have your decline or reinvention, plateau, whatever you want to call it. But those are roughly the stages. And in the in-between, in that liminal space between I'm no longer a startup and I am starting to grow up, or I'm no longer growing up because the tech is holding me back and I need to start scaling, or I am scaling but I need to I see the plateau coming, I don't want to decline and I want to reinvent myself. Maybe I need to expand overseas. Maybe I need to add a service or a product to my suite of offerings. Those in-between moments, that's typically when businesses reach out to us because they're in that uncomfortable place of, I know where I want to go, but something's blocking the way. And often that is perceived to be technology, but we know it's always a three-legged approach.
Fantastic.
What do you find is usually the first question that a client will ask you when you start working together?
What software should I buy?
Okay.
Which is the last one we answer.
Yeah. And what do you think that first question should be? What would delight you to hear come out of someone's mouth?
Best question I've ever been asked. Can you help us slow down and be more strategic?
Okay, yeah.
I would love to hear that. Music to my ears.
I cannot imagine many business leadership teams are ever using the word slow down.
No, not many. However, when we do speak with that language, there will be two very stark responses. It's black or white. Either they will get it straight away, like my comment earlier about ego. Someone will get it straight away and say, I didn't see it, but now that you said it out loud, I completely agree. Let's do it, even if it's uncomfortable. And others will go, no, we just need the right software. Can you just answer that for us? And then we know.
Okay, so what's some clues that might tell a business its scaling is chaotic?
How do we know if our own business is outgrowing their systems and is scaling in a chaotic way as opposed to
Like
a
it's losing
systemized way?
control.
Yes, exactly. And so think about those. I'm going to speak a little bit about the red flags and then maybe what is the precursor of that red flag. So the red flags you're going to see is obviously high staff turnover, client turnover, definitely unhappy client, missed deadlines, missed deliverables, we don't have stock, items like that. But if we go to the precursors, almost the canary in the mines, if you will, one that we see a lot and it is top of our list that we look for is what we call shadow systems. And what those are is, say hypothetically you have a stock management inventory system for your business. If your team are utilizing an Excel spreadsheet instead of, or doubling up the data because they want to keep you happy and use your system, but in reality they trust the spreadsheet. That's one of the very, very first signs we look for. Something's not right. Or when we talk about staff turnover, that usually, when it becomes big enough to notice, it usually happens right at the end. The precursor of that is key role staff turnover. And those roles we look for are ops manager and finance. Whether it's finance manager or CFO, whatever the role is, those are the two critical roles that if we see a business that, say, in the last 2 years have had 4 or 5 individuals in that role, they stay for 3 or 4 months and then they leave, that's a big, big red flag for us.
How about the information silos?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. So again, that is the end result. Information silos, technology silos. So your marketing uses a system, your sales uses a system, your delivery uses a system, or maybe you've got multiple delivery teams. Say one is in the NT, one is in South Australia, and one is in WA. They each use a different system to deliver the same service, of course. And then if you peel that back, that usually ends up being team siloed, information silo, even almost this, It all starts from leadership and culture, really. And so if the leader of that department, I can see the twinkle in your eye.
As soon as you say culture, I'm like, I can see where
Yes,
this is going.
yes, exactly. Because it all starts from the head.
So what's the first step that you would give a business owner in changing that pattern? What's the very first thing that you're going to look at together?
The very, very first step is that slow down and work on mindset and think about strategy differently. That is the very first step. And we often pair it up with a more tactical step because, you just don't want to spend 6 months working on your mindset and on your habits and on your strategy. You want results, especially if you're in that scale phase. You've got demands from your delivery, from your team, from your clients. You want to keep business going, but also we need to do that on the side. So we try to pair up a tactical step of mapping the business processes. So usually we do that per department. That's the biggest recommendation I have. So take your departments, and whether that be, lead generation, marketing, sales, delivery, or client onboarding, staff onboarding, offboarding, inventory management, bills and invoices payable, map everything per department is the general rule. If your business operates a little bit differently, maybe you can merge 2 departments together because they're part of the same process. Another really useful thing to do is a client journey, which rather than going vertically by department, goes across departments.
Okay.
So what are all the different touch points? And once we've got that map, or rather, while we work on those maps, we work on strategy and mindset and uncover all the gaps that we see in a business. And so that's where I find that pairing a tactical tool with a more insight-based activity is what works best because you achieve 2 results for the price of 1, really.
Absolutely. No, that's genius. Genius.
So
I'll take it.
when you say process mapping, do you provide the technology or the platform to actually do it all, or do you do it for them, or is it a big document, or is it flow charts, or is it a combination of everything?
Sharpies and butcher's paper.
Yeah.
I do like Sharpies and butcher paper. That's usually the starting point, or Post-it notes. That's a really good one. Because there's an element to it being tactile, and there's an element that we like to bring in to it becoming a game. It's so serious. Oh, I need to create a process map in my business. It's so serious. But if you turn it into a game and really make it tactile, at the end of the day, we're adults, but we like to play and we like to use our hands. And so anything that we can do to take that out of leaders. So say if we do a leadership workshop, that's what we would do. And to answer your question then, no, we don't really offer a platform for it. We can create those, typically they're flow charts that we provide. And yes, we do provide them to our clients. But in saying that, the value isn't in the end document. It's in the process that you go through to get there.
It's the stopping, looking at your business, looking over the top of it and strategizing a little bit.
That's right. So even getting the heads of departments in the same room for 2 hours to workshop their client journey. And once you've got that map, you bring them back into the room and go, right, here's the map. Now, where are the hotspots? And then someone from marketing will say here, someone from delivery will say here, someone from finance, which is at the end of the process maybe, will say, well, we have this problem. And you actually start working through what constraint got me to that problem at the end in finance. Because finance is the final bottleneck, right? All the problems end up there.
It's business.
It's business.
Business game.
But they can be, funny that, but they can be resolved if you go back. What's the constraint? What's the constraint? What's the constraint? And then you go back upstream and figure out that we could solve that right at the client onboarding step by gathering this information or removing this step, whatever that may be.
Do you find that there's much variation between the problem and the process of solving the problem, or do you find that it's pretty much the same story across businesses?
That's a very insightful question. I think it is the same process, but it's like a recipe. The spices and the dosage of every ingredient differ, but the process is the same. You start with some ingredients, you combine the dry one here and the wet ones there, then you combine them all together, then you put it into a vehicle for cooking, and at the end of it, you have your cake or your lasagna.
Yeah, sure. I'll take the lasagna, thank you.
That's the Italian coming through in you.
Yes.
So what would you say is maybe the biggest differences between working with a smaller business versus a much larger one, both ends of the scale?
Small businesses have ability to pivot really quickly. But then possibly the speed of execution slows down because they don't have the manpower. So it's speed of changing your mind, maybe changing your mindset around something. And typically, if we're dealing with a founder, they still have a relatively small, like 20, 30 team member group. It's relatively easy for the founder's decision to trickle down culturally to the rest of the team. So they're very quick, but then the execution is a bit slower because they don't have the power. And in bigger organization, you're typically dealing with boards, multiple stakeholders. And so the decision making and the turning, it's almost turning the Titanic sometimes. But once it is turned, it can go full steam ahead. It has resources to throw behind the project and it speeds up. So in the end, I'm not going to say it balances out because big projects always take longer, but it's pros and cons.
So after processes is the people.
Yes.
So with the people, you identify where some areas might be overstaffed or understaffed. And if it's understaffed, do you help find the right staff member, the right person for the position?
People is an interesting one that we do. So it overlaps a little bit into the process and it definitely overlaps with the technology, but it has its own second step, as you said. For people, what we look for is, how's your org chart looking? Have you got right people in the right seat? And we're not an HR consultancy. No. So if it turns into an HR adjacent or a compliance adjacent conversation, then we can refer.
For sure.
But we can spot the patterns and sort of connect the dots. Typically, we look at roles and responsibilities. Ownership is a big one. And so it goes both ways. Are the people in the seat taking ownership? And is the leadership team allowing them to take ownership of whatever that project or that initiative might be? Gathering the perspectives of everyone in the organization, top to bottom or bottom to top, is really important. So talking to team members that might be on a truck delivering a parcel, for example, sometimes gives more gold than talking to the CEO in the boardroom. Okay. Because the CEO knows the vision of the business, they understand what needs to happen, but sometimes they don't have that nitty-gritty, exactly. And when you bring that to the surface, it can inform so many of the strategic decision that the leadership team takes. So it needs to go both ways.
That's great.
Yeah.
Hey guys, just a quick break to thank our affiliate partner, HubSpot. We are thrilled to announce our partnership with HubSpot, the ultimate all-in-one CRM platform. HubSpot helps you streamline marketing, sales, and customer service with powerful tools to grow your business faster. From lead generation to automation, it's got you covered. By using the link in our description, you not only get to start your HubSpot journey for free, but you'll also be supporting our work here on the show. Now back to today's episode. Would you say, I think what I'm hearing across all of this, obviously we're speaking systems, so it's a very organized, almost clinical, although the way that you speak about the people first before technology makes it less so. I'm just wondering, was it your experience in the corporate world, or was it a more formative time in your life where you sort of developed the mind to work in this way?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I did some reflecting on that 2 or 3 years ago, I think it was, when I started getting asked that question. So more recently, this is our second business. The business we owned before, my husband and I, we were part of a team who was delivering software. So we actually were developing software for the disability industry. And we were squarely in the technology space. We were providing training and implementation and customization. And what I found so frustrating in that experience was that the technology was so good, but we couldn't affect change within the organization. The organization purchased the software and expected it to fix everything like a magic wand. And we couldn't really do that because we couldn't impact the process and the people and the culture. So that's what prompted Via to start. But if I go back, where did I learn to do this? My background in Italy growing up was in hospitality and events management. And so since I was 13 or 14, I used to work at this villa where lots of weddings and conferences would happen. And again, very quickly you learn there's a system, there's a process, there's a checklist, it's clinical, but none of that matters. What matters is how the customer feels and what experience they have. And if you know Will Guldara, his book is, I can't remember the title of his book now, but he wrote a book about the experience he creates in his restaurant in the US. And I don't know, for example, a diner would come in and they'd never seen snow, so they would create snow for them. Or I think there's a movie about it where they serve a hot dog in a high-end restaurant, and you would think, a New York hot dog from the street. Yes, they did, because that's the experience their customer was craving, and they became unforgettable, and they became uncomparable as businesses. Therefore, you're no longer playing in I need to price myself as low as possible, or I need to make my proposal as appealing as possible. Now I am offering you an experience. And again, you cannot do that if you start from technology. You have to start from what makes your business tick, what makes your people tick, and what do your customers want.
That's
love that.
Yeah, that's a really, it's a nice sort of way to frame it, because I guess also something that is obviously coming up more and more is how AI is impacting companies. And it sounds like you've found like this really beautiful blend of humanizing everything within the company before moving on to the technology. And yeah, I think, could you speak maybe to how you think AI might possibly change this culture?
Look, I think headlines will tell you AI is going to take all of our jobs, it's going to change everything. And it is going to change everything, but not in the way that many might think. I think it's going to change everything because it's going to force us to really be clear on what should remain human and what can be done by AI. And in so doing, we have to slow down and be strategic. So it's all going to come back to that. AI will force us to become better at asking questions and using its strengths to give ourselves what we need. Instead of delegating decision-making to AI, I need to put together a marketing campaign. What should I do? Okay, that's fine. Or act as a marketing manager. What do you recommend I do? Fine. But if we are strategic and ask questions that get us the insight and then we percolate those thoughts, this is where AI is going to be a game changer. And also, again, it is a vehicle. Like any software, well, it's different than software, but like any software, it's a tool. Think about it, instead of being a Ferrari, it might be a rocket ship. You still need a map. You still need to know where you're going, and you still need to make sure that the rocket ship is the right tool to do the job. We might find ourselves managing AI agents. This is, it's a very hot topic right now, but we still need to be really clear, what are those AI agents? What's the outcome? Not necessarily what are they doing in the in-between step, because very soon AI will do that for us as well. Right now we have to tell the agent, do this, then go to this tool, then take this action, then change this. Very soon AI will do the middle bit. And so we need to be really clear, it's where are we starting, what's the input, what's the output, and why do we need this?
Yeah.
And let the AI figure out the how in the middle.
Do you think it's almost like a case of factoring in the AI as part of the people process as almost like an additional staff member?
That's exactly, yeah, I'm funny you should say that. I think recently we put out some content on social media, and we literally said, think about onboarding AI as you would onboard a team member.
Yeah, clever.
So when you onboard a team member, you give them a role, responsibilities, KPIs to meet, and you may give them a one-pager that contains everything. Do the same with AI.
Yeah, it's all about just increasing productivity with AI, isn't it? It's the same thing as everyone said, and this is a long time ago, like the computer's going to replace printers. It didn't.
It didn't.
Yeah.
It changed the game. It changed the business game.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
But not in the way they were saying. And AI will be the same.
Yeah.
Headlines.
Internets with mail, it's the same thing. It's just changing that productivity. It's about streamlining the process.
Yeah. And to a degree, if I may play with that for a second,
For
then
sure.
I think streamlining the process is still sitting in a strategic seat and should still sit with a human to decide what needs to be streamlined. Then you bring in AI to execute on that streamlined process and speed it up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a tiny difference, but I still believe the human should retain the decision making and the strategic thought behind, and then AI can speed up the execution and streamline in those terms.
Just like you said, it's about the customer experience. And if the AI is not going to produce something for the customer to the right experience, what's the point?
That's right. And implement the tool that fits your team, that fits your people, which is team and customer together. So the example I often give, I'll see if I can adjust it to AI. So the example I often give is, let's say that there's a business who needs to implement a booking system. If this business is a gym, let's make a number of assumptions here. Gym, maybe the audience is a, 18 to 25-year-old male. What do they want? They want speed, convenience. They want to be able to log in at 11 p.m., book themselves a PT session, and be able to rock up at 6 a.m. And it's all there for them. They don't want to talk to a human, right? So in that case, you're going to create technology, whether it's a software or maybe an AI, a chatbot that helps them book to deliver that outcome, that experience. Now, same use case, someone needs a booking system, but in this case, it's an aged care facility with a doctor or a nurse office on site. That cohort of audience, they probably really value not just booking the appointment to get my bloods checked, but going in and having a chat with the receptionist and telling them about my nephew who just got an award at school. And so if you take that away from the experience, you're going to do both your business and your clients a disservice. So in that case, pick technology that supports the receptionist in their role, but keep the human at the front and only work with AI or technology in the back end.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, AI leads into the third leg, which is technology.
Yes.
So
100%.
how do you find the right software for the right process or the right business?
The right software for the right business. So it is a mismatch, and you want to think about it as a matchmaking process. And so if you've done the first few steps, which is mapping out your business and gathering the perspectives of your people, you now have all the ingredients to start the matchmaking process. So yes, you want to look at key features and functionalities, but if you only do that, again, you're going to fail. So what you want is, first of all, we recommend you do, the exercise we do is called the North Star. And what it is essentially is decide what are the top 3 outcomes that you need this technology to deliver. Sometimes our clients come to us and give us 50. That's fine. Let's bring it down to 3. What are the top 3? And they can be as abstract as possible. So potentially provide our clients the best experience possible. And then what does that mean? But the good thing about having that is that becomes the North Star that drives every decision. So when a software vendor comes to you and says, oh, we could customize the client portal with such and such feature, you're no longer looking at the feature. You're looking at, well, does it deliver on one of those 3 outcomes? If yes, let's talk about it. If no, shelve it. So that's the first thing. Secondly, we would look for values match. So you want to find a technology partner, not just a vendor that sells you a software and then disappears. And tech companies come in every flavor, but find the one that matches your values. Again, if you want to just purchase a software and get online training and call it a day, maybe go over here. If you want personalized onboarding and an account manager to come to your office and help you, go for a different type of software. And the last third big recommendation is create a user story. We call it the pre-demo playbook, and essentially is there's a structure to it, and you create, who am I? What's my role? What do I need to achieve? What's the outcome that I need to provide? And then what does the process typically look like? And it could be a step-by-step, not an SOP, but a high-level step-by-step. Client calls, I need to create a record here. I need to gather the phone number, such and such. And then after that, we want to write the non-negotiables for this. So if it is a financial software, for example, we need an output of an export in a particular format that is not CSV or Excel, for example.
Yeah.
That would become a non-negotiable. But we do that after we've told the story and after we've told the outcome. And if we provide that to a software platform, we almost turn the demo upside down. So rather than the software vendor showing us their software on their terms and running the demo on their schedule, we go, no. we can do that later. But what we would like to see is how does your platform help this particular role achieve this particular outcome with these non-negotiable. And yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's a really interesting way of thinking about it. And I just got to thinking, I suppose, I'm not sure how often you engage with advising on social media presence for brands and companies, but I imagine you would have some insight on picking the right social media platform for a company to have a presence on.
That's an interesting question. Not something we typically consult on, but if we use the same framework, why not? Definitely, where are your target customers? We know that, but value-based and also process and outcome-based. I'd say value and outcome I'd probably look at first. So which platform aligns with your values and which platforms delivers on the outcomes. Then forget about whether it's a story or a reel or a post later. Let's look at the outcomes.
What do you see are the basic software requirements for any business? Do you recommend every business should have a CRM? Is there a go-to software that you recommend, or?
Not really. The basic, I'll take it a step back. The basics that every business should have is a system for your systems, which is a way to keep track of all of your systems. Processes, your people, and your technology. If we focus on the technology, definitely a CRM, a software to help you run your operations, whether that includes stock management or not, whether that includes people management or not. And lastly, the financial software. There are some ERP pieces of software that capture it all in one, but typically what we see, if we go back to the stages of business growth, as a startup, your system for your system might be one master spreadsheet with a list of where are all my systems, then another spreadsheet for each system. So maybe a spreadsheet for your finances, a spreadsheet for your operation, and a spreadsheet for your people, and a spreadsheet as your CRM. Then as you go past your startup phase, you start bringing in some technology. You might bring in a proper CRM or a proper ops tool, proper finance. Probably the finance is one of the first you want to bring in to do yourself a favor.
You're always going to bring in the first.
Yeah. You're not going to disagree with that.
Can you tell Dan has an accountancy background?
No, I saw the twinkle in their eye as soon as I said financial software.
Xero, Rec, and QuickBooks, you know.
Yes. But then again, if you're a smaller business, definitely look for that value alignment and that feature and that outcome, but don't overthink it. It's your first financial software. Just pick one. Yeah, definitely, don't just point and pick, but don't overthink it either. That's the other thing we see a lot. Smaller businesses overthink that decision so much. And then because they overthought that decision, they hold on to it so much until they grow. And the software is still sitting there and they keep growing. And that's where you start seeing the red flags that I spoke about earlier.
Saying that, I obviously I'm an accountant in the back, in my spare time. I've seen so many clients get recommended software from accountants. And it makes, what it does, it makes the accountant's life really easy. But for the customer, they got no idea. And in some ways, like you just said, they grow and the software doesn't grow with them.
I found this very interesting. We might just bounce on that for a second. So I'm going to make some assumptions here. So if I'm an accountant, I'm going to have a target audience, which is going to be maybe a type of industry or a certain size of business. And so it would make a reasonable amount of sense that I would select maybe one or two to have a little bit of a range, platforms that work well for this industry or for this size business. I guess the trouble, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I'm off the mark here, the trouble comes when, say, this business grows and the accountant goes, yay, I have a bigger businesses, let's keep working together. But then the software cannot support that client anymore and the accountant doesn't recognize that's the case. Because you could say, we'll start out with Xero. And then we know Xero has a soft ceiling of 100 seats or 200 seats. I think the soft ceiling is 100 and the hard ceiling is 200.
Sure.
But then you have to change to a different accounting platform. And if, as an accounting firm, you have the ability to take your clients through that journey, to me, that's fine. Because you know how Xero operates and you know how the bigger accounting platform, whatever that may be, there's so many out there, that's not too bad because you keep it simple. But what is different there to me is the intention that the accounting platform has. If the intention is make my life easier only, then maybe not so good. If the intention is let's keep it simple, I know this work, and I always have your benefit as a client in mind, then I could be okay with that.
It's like you said before. I find that the accountants are focusing on the technology, but really they should be focusing on the processes and the people. And once they get those right, the technology doesn't matter.
It becomes obvious.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Sorry, we're completely strayed from the... Sorry, I'm so sorry,
Let you
Jazz.
drift off into
Sorry,
your
Jazz,
financials
sorry.
world.
We'll cut all that out.
Please don't, because it's awesome.
I was curious. I know that consultants kind of get a bad rap a lot of the time. I was curious, what are your metrics that you use to measure your success after working with a client?
To me, one of the markers of a successful project is in the space of those 18 months, 2 years, however long that may be, when we get to the handover point and we still stay in touch, we still have exec meetings every quarter with the leadership team, but we're not so much hands-on. Have I transferred that knowledge, and not just that knowledge, but that confidence to talk to a vendor, that confidence to maintain the system, that confidence to say, when someone asks me to customize this form, how do I decide whether I should add a field for the postcode or not? They're tactical decision, but if I have managed to transfer that strategic angle, and that not just what is the second, third, fourth, fifth degree consequence of this choice, how does it impact the rest of the system, whether it's in the software, whether it's in do we need to change a process, or whether it's what does it mean for this particular role, for this particular individual in our business. If that has been achieved, and in saying that, there is so many professionals that already have that knowledge in-house, but sometimes having an external partner to be able to come in and say certain things out loud to the boss opens up the way for them to be able to also do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to me, that's what a successful project, that's what and it's unmeasurable to a degree, but that's what I look for.
Yeah.
At what point, so you get involved with the business, you start doing the digital transformation.
Yes.
You find the systems, you put the right people in place. At what point do you get out? What point do you say, yep, it's a success, time to go? Is it knowing, can you measure it? Like, is it net profit increasing? Or is it just more functional, or?
It's typically more functional. The net profit increasing typically takes a little while to kick in, and that's where those quarterly check-ins after come into play. So typically our projects go for that 12 to 24 months. Okay. So we have a project plan and we know when the project ends, and we very rarely go over that timeline. Yes, for financial reasons, yes, for deliverable reasons, but also because change is really heavy on the humans of the business, and the more you draw her out, the more... So there's an emotional roller coaster that happens when humans go through change. It's almost like the stages of grief to a degree.
Yeah.
You would have seen it.
Sure.
And so what we aim to do is lower that curve so that the highs are less high and the lows especially are less low, but they still happen. And we try to shorten that time frame so that you get to go through the roller coaster as fast as possible without breaking you as a person. So you can come out the other side and start settling in. And that's why we try to keep it within the time frame as well. Then we get out because after 18 months, typically we start seeing that fatigue kick in, change fatigue, project fatigue. My attention is being called to other duties that I have maybe not neglected but set aside. And if we were to continue the project longer, say for example, we've just implemented a software and we've gone live 2 months ago, that's probably a hard stop for me, 2 months after go live, 1 to 2 months, because otherwise we tend to go into a complacency place as well, and everybody needs a break at that point. And it's good to let it sit and do its thing for a while, maybe 4 to 6 months, I would say. So typically I check in at the 3-month mark. Nothing usually happens then. The answers I get from the team, I say, oh, we're still getting used to it. Oh, we haven't switched off Teams yet, for example, or we're still kind of relying on the spreadsheet. That's fine. But at the 6-month mark, that's usually when I go, okay, we need to run all these reports, make all those assessments and have those conversations. Because if we let it go too long, you'll go back to business as usual. So that's kind of the timeframes that I would say are typical in the size projects that we operate in.
Sure.
And we're trying to balance the business needs and the human needs.
How about resistance? Do you come up with resistance from team members?
Yes.
How about
so
management?
much.
Is this all levels or?
All levels.
Okay.
And the funniest thing is when we work with a business and the leader says, my team is so excited for this change, for this software. And I go, yeah, they are. Until they're not.
Yeah.
Because it's even for me. I recently adopted a new software and it was such a steep learning curve. We didn't have an account manager to train us. It was all online, access as you please, pre-recorded videos and articles, which sounds efficient, but I reckon it took us longer to learn the software than if we had a real human to go, yes, I see your 30-step manual there, but I need this outcome. How do I get there? Just give me the steps that I need, and then I'll learn all the others.
Is it like the stereotype, someone who's been in the business there for 13 years and doesn't want to change? And
there is certainly that. Where we find that happens, so that happens to everybody to a higher or lesser degree. The trouble tends to happen when an individual that might have been in the business many years has overlapped their own identity with their role. And so,
okay, I see what you mean.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point.
Yes, because the role may shift and change because maybe we bring in technology to streamline the reconciliation of invoices, for example. I'm going back to finance. Just
perfect.
It came to me. We bring a software to streamline the reconciliation of invoices, which was done manually, and maybe it took you 8 hours to do before. And now the system does it automatically and only brings you the exceptions for you to approve. So maybe you can get it done in 1 hour instead of 8. Completely random numbers. Now, if your identity is, I'm so good, only I can do it. See, remember my biggest business challenge? Yeah, it becomes a threat. So the technology becomes a threat to your role and as a consequence yourself. And that's where the resistance really, you become really into a gridlock situation. And that's where, again, technology isn't enough. We need to work with the people that are going to use. Technology is always in service of the people. And so we do work with those individuals, and if there is an HR department or if there is a counseling department, we gently nudge that interaction. But if that's not available because it's a smaller business, we do have those conversations. It's at a high level. Have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? Can you see it in those from that lens? And if they can, they're going to go through the roller coaster and come out the other side. Sometimes they can't, and sometimes there is turnover. And I recently caught up actually with a client last week at the 6-month mark, funnily enough. And the CEO was sharing that she had quite a few key roles move on.
Okay.
Because they just could not adapt to the new system. And one of those I could spot during the project. You could see it. And we gave every opportunity and every support possible, but sometimes it's just not a fit. Just like it may sound harsh, but just like you outgrow your business software systems, you sometimes outgrow your people.
Yeah.
Who
It's a sensitive subject. Yeah.
I know, but I think it's down again to the intention of why we're saying it this way. I'm not saying it this way to suggest let's use people and then throw them away when we're done.
No.
Let's recognize that you partner up with your employees for a period of time, however long or short may be, until their personal goals and what they want to achieve align with your business goals and what the business wants to achieve. There's a good partnership there.
So they need to be open to a reshuffle,
Yes.
finding the right role for them.
That's
Not
right.
automatically going, right up, you got the sack, get out.
That's it.
Yeah.
The conversation.
I guess it's threat. You know, it's that job security that people always worry about. And it's understandable.
Yeah.
You can't blame them at all.
100%. It's like AI. AI will steal my job. Well, no. How can we work with AI so that your role gets elevated and you get to do more with your role?
Exactly.
But it's not possible if there's that overlap of role and individual.
Val, we have a little segment that we like to do toward the end of the show. It's rapid fire. So we want the very first answer off the top of your head, and we're just going to speed on through them.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's go.
I wasn't buying time at all, by the way.
Alrighty. So the biggest misconception people have about digital transformation.
It's all about technology.
Favorite productivity hack or tool right now?
Planning your day in the morning.
Fresh brain.
Yes.
One quality every great change leader must have.
Curiosity.
Yeah, absolutely. And that almost can't be taught. That's a hard one. Yeah.
Yes.
It's the why.
Yeah.
Why?
What excites you the most about the future of business?
Play. That's going to be a weird answer.
No? Well, that's the last question, so you can expand.
There's so much we can play with. Once we abstract us, so I think a lot of the time as business owners and leaders, we are in the jar and we cannot read the label on the outside. So if we can step outside of ourselves and look at this business world, and my business can be connected with so many other businesses, there's so much I can play with. Once I take myself out, there's so much beauty in it, not just within your business, to look at it as a map, as a board game. We have actually a workshop where we created our own board game for that exact reason. It gives the idea of, unless you're a surgeon, we're not saving lives here. So let's play. And that's what gets me excited about business. There's so much we can play with.
Yeah, I love that. So thinking back to the year that you've seen the most financial growth within your own organisation, can you point to any particular initiatives or mindset changes within your team that led to that?
Yes, putting ourselves out there. So you might call it marketing, you might call it positioning, really putting ourselves out there. And it was almost a year before. We had to go and we had to accept that there was a 6 to 12 months lead time where we would do the activity and repeat the activity, even if you didn't see the result, because something else was coming later. And in that gap, your mindset game needs to be really, really strong, because when you run webinars or you run events and no one shows up, it's very tempting to just stop. Funny story. With my husband, we dance a beautiful dance called Zouk. It's one of the ways that we disconnect from the business self and go back to the married self. And our dance teacher, he is amazing. He's here on the Sunshine Coast. And recently he tried to create some events on a Friday night. And actually 2 lessons I'll get from that. He created these events every Friday. And he ran it once and a few people showed up. He ran it twice and less people showed up. He ran it the 3rd time and it just so happened that everybody was busy or in Brisbane or out of town and nobody showed up. And he got a little bit disheartened by it and stopped. It's winter, it's cold. I mean, it's not really cold. Italy is cold. This is not cold. But anyway, so many reasons, but he stopped. And I find myself now every Friday asking, well, is something on? I really want to go. And so the 2 lessons that I get from that is, yes, repetition. Yes, keep adjusting if something doesn't work, but don't stop altogether. And the second one actually that came to me as I was telling the story, frequency. So maybe what he could have changed is, rather than doing it every Friday, is every 2nd Friday or once a month. His thought probably was, well, everyone's always busy. So if I do it every Friday, I'll always have someone. But because we know it's always there and always available, it's like, well, I'll go next week. It's fine. Yeah. And so those 2 thoughts, they're very interesting. So for example, when we do our webinars, we never do replays. Because you have to be there or not. And if you miss out, you miss out. That's fine.
Scarcity element.
Yes. Yeah. And so what are the levers that we can play with? And I don't know how we started talking about this, but there you go.
It led to growth for you. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Just hanging in there. And I suppose that's like a really interesting way to frame pivoting, because I think a lot of the time we can think about pivoting as like a total all or nothing, but that's interesting to just bring it back in and just sort of move with smaller degrees.
Yes. Find your levers. Find your levers and then move one at a time. I mean, that's advice that everybody would know, but don't move them all. Move one at a time. Give it time to settle.
Oh, this is new information for my brain.
Okay, so that's another thing that I learned that year when things didn't work. I thought, let's change it all. And then someone really, really smart, can't remember who, but thank you, whoever you were, said just move one lever at a time and then give it time to breathe. And if it doesn't work, move another lever and give it time to breathe. And then the price of that is slowing down.
If you could pass on one piece of wisdom to other business leaders about moving the needle on their business, what would it be?
Get clarity in yourself first. That is the one key starting point.
Stepping outside the jar.
Stepping outside of the jar.
Looking at the label and the glass and the lid and making sure it's right.
Think about it as a board game as much as you can, as much as we love our business and we're in it. Get clarity in yourself. What do you need? And then the following question, what do you need to get there? All the questions will follow. But you first need to step out to get that clarity. You can't get that clarity inside the jar.
Perfect. Beautiful advice. Well, Val, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us, guys.
We've reached time, but could you give us another quick summary of who you are, what you do, and where people can find you?
100%. So Val from Via Technology. Best place to find us is LinkedIn. We play a lot in there. And we're digital transformation consultants and we systemize businesses.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. To help support our continued mission to provide free, best-in-class advice from the world's most compelling business leaders, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you never miss an episode. Thanks for tuning in to The Business Game. If you like what you've heard, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn to stay connected. A big thank you to our major sponsor, Tala, for powering today's episode. Join us again on the next episode of The Business Game, a podcast that moves the needle.